Hello, Renew Health Warriors. Welcome to Renew Health Thursdays. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Owusu. I'm the owner of Renew Health Clinic in Columbus, Georgia, the owner of Dr. Owusu Skincare and Wellness, and the senior pastor of Living Free Now Church in Columbus, Georgia. Whenever you can on a Sunday, you can come visit us. Thank you. Anyway, this channel, welcome to our channel. This channel is about, basically promoting a healthy lifestyle, through the increased consumption of fruits and vegetables, so that you can be able to become the best version of yourself that you can be, and be able to get off your medications, your chronic medications like your high blood pressure medications, your diabetes medications, your cholesterol medications. Trust me, it's possible. You can work with your doctor to come off your medications, and the side benefits is lose weight at the same time. Okay, so with that said, last week I started a series called the Adrenal Glands. And I said that, and I'm just going to continue. So that was Adrenal Glands part 1. So if you haven't watched that, watch that. And now today we'll continue with Adrenal Gland part 2. And basically, the adrenal glands is like a little triangle of glands. They're right above each kidney. You have 2 kidneys, one on the left, one on the right side. And they are little triangular glands. And they're actually called endocrine glands, meaning that they secrete hormones into the bloodstream, and it goes to different parts of the body. Now, that adrenal gland is stimulated by hormones and nerve things from the hypothalamus, which is in the brain, and then that hypothalamus always secretes like releasing hormones, and then that releasing hormone it stimulates the pituitary gland, which is also in the brain, but it has 2 parts: the anterior pituitary gland and the posterior pituitary gland, and both parts secretes different things. Okay, so the anterior part secretes a lot of hormones. Okay, and so when it comes to the adrenal gland, we're going to be talking about the hypothalamus in the brain secreting it's called corticotropin releasing hormone, which then comes down and it triggers the anterior pituitary gland to secrete adrenocorticotropin hormone. Okay, ACTH, adrenocorticotropin hormone. Don't worry about the big names, just know that the hypothalamus secretes a hormone, which is a releasing hormone, the corticotropin. Then it triggers down to the anterior part of the pituitary gland, which then secretes the ACTH, okay? And then the ACTH now works on the adrenal gland, okay? Where it flows through the bloodstream, but its main target is the adrenal gland, okay? That's why it's called adrenocorticotropin hormone, okay? So in the adrenal gland itself, those little triangular shaped glands, there's 2 compartments to it. There's the middle part, which is the adrenal medulla, and then there's the outer part, which is the adrenal cortex. The adrenal medulla is actually it's signaled like there's a communication between the brain, nerves to that particular medulla, adrenal medulla, which forms your which is part of your autonomic nervous system. And we'll go through an autonomic nervous system at another time. But just remember that in your autonomic nervous system, you have 2 components. You have the sympathetic and your parasympathetic. So, for example, if a cat is chasing after you, or a dog is chasing after you, it's your sympathetic that kicks in. Because why? Because you want to run, your heart rate goes up, there's a whole lot that's going on. The sympathetic, the autonomic nervous system also does something. That's why it's called autonomic. It's doing it without you even realizing, like the way you blink your eyes. Breathing, you don't think about breathing, you don't think about blinking your eyes, you don't even think about digestion, you don't think about your heart rate or your heartbeat. None of that you think about. It just does it autonomically. That's why it's called autonomic nervous system. Okay, so with that said, that functions, that kind of works on the adrenal medulla, the middle part, right? And secretes neurotransmitters, which communicates with the rest of your body. Then you have the cortex. Now, this is where I want to concentrate a little bit today, on the medulla as well as the cortex. And I'm going to show you how it blends in. The cortex, the adrenal cortex is the outer layer. But even with that, that's separated into 3 layers, okay? Just remember GFR. So the top is the zona glomerulosa, which is G. Then the middle is zona fascicularis, which is the F. and then zona reticulitis, which is the R. Okay, so GFR. Each part, interesting enough, is stimulated by that ACTH hormone that came from the anterior pituitary gland. Each part is stimulated. So the ACTH will stimulate the G part, the glomerulosa part, right? The zona glomerulosa part, to actually release or secrete mineralocorticoids, which is your aldosterone. That is the part, that's the one that works with the kidney to balance your blood pressure. So if it notices that the blood pressure is low, then it's going to tell the kidney absorb more, more water back into the bloodstream and more sodium back into the bloodstream. And then it says get rid of more potassium. So when that happens, you notice that your blood pressure was low, but it will come up. So that is that zona glomerulosa. Okay. Then you have the zona fascicularis. That part right there, that is the part that produces the ACTH. Also stimulates that part, and it produces your glucocorticoids and some very cortisol, and that's what I'm going to focus on today, cortisol. And then you have the bottom part, which is the zona reticularis, right? And those are the ACTH stimulates that to form the androgens. Those sex hormones that I spoke about a little bit briefly, which we're going to talk about next week, hopefully. That's the part that the zona reticularis is where it is actually stimulated to form the sex hormones that stimulates both the female and the male. That releases both like sexual characteristics like hairs. The men, give them the deep voice. With the female, it helps with their breast production. You see what I mean? So there's that adrenal gland, people, as little as it is, does a whole lot. So if your adrenal gland is weak or supercharged, and it's also that sex hormones part in that adrenal gland is what actually also affects libido. So it can make your libido, if you have low libido or high libido, those are the things that is happening there. So with that said, let us focus on stress. Because I always like to, when I give you some of these pathophysiologies, I want to relate it to diseases and to problems that you are experiencing in your life to see how it relates to it. So stress, there is acute stress and there's chronic stress. And remember, I told you about the autonomic nervous system. So when you have an acute stress, like you have a dog or a cat chasing you, trying to bite you, right? That's an acute stress. So your body is trying to fight. It's called the fight or flight. Your body is trying to just kick it. Your muscles want to move. Your heart wants to beat fast. Your brain want to have glucose in it so it can, try and think and figure out what's the next thing to do. There's so much going on. You want more. Your body wants more oxygen into your lung, so it's going to vasodilate the lung. So there's so much that's going on. So that particular stress will release, will stimulate the autonomic nervous system, specifically the sympathetic. Okay, because the parasympathetic, that is where your digestion is. That's where your healing is. That's where your immunity is. Like, it's basically your reproduction. All that is in the parasympathetic. You cannot have both going on. You either have the sympathetic going on or the parasympathetic going on. So most of the time, right? And then the sympathetic is where, the acute stress is coming in and your body's just on the go, like boom, boom, boom. So it affects so many things in the body. Now, most of the time, right, in the normal world, you are supposed to really, I'll give like an arbitrary number or percentage. In the normal world, you are supposed to be, stimulating that sympathetic, because it's a burst, right? Sympathetic, like maybe 10 to 20%, right? And then the parasympathetic is supposed to be the 80 to 90%. But because there's so much chronic stress going on today in our worlds, whether there's so much chronic stress going on. So guess what? Now the sympathetic is becoming more than the parasympathetic because there's so much going on. So what are so now this is the adrenal medulla. Let's focus on that. So we said the brain stimulates, the nerve endings, and then the medulla, through communication via the nerves, and then the adrenal medulla releases these neurotransmitters. So what are the neurotransmitters that the medulla releases? It releases something called epinephrine or adrenaline. Epinephrine is the same as adrenaline. And it also releases norepinephrine, right? And norepinephrine is noradrenaline. And it also releases dopamine. So those are your catecholamines, okay? Those are coming from your adrenal medulla. So when it does that, it will go through the nerve endings, or communicate, and it will go to different parts of the body, and it will tell the heart beat fast, right? So your heart rate will go up. It will tell the contractility of your heart, contract. So what happens? Your blood pressure is gonna go up. So number one, your heart rate will go up, your blood pressure will go up, right? And then it tells the blood vessels that's going to the peripheries, it will tell it, hey, constrict, and then so your blood pressure is gonna go up there, right? So you have elevated heart rate, you have elevated blood pressure, right? And then what it also does is it tells the lungs, hey, bronchodilate. So it works on the bronchioles and say dilate. So it bronchodilates, so you get more oxygen in. So what is it doing? It's increasing your heart rate, it's increasing your blood pressure, it's getting more oxygen into your lungs, right? And then what it tells the adipose tissue, your fats, it tells your fat cells break down fats, because your fats is stored in your fat cells as triglyceride. So it tells the triglyceride, it causes lipolysis, meaning it tells the fat cells break down the triglyceride. So then lipolysis happens, and it breaks down the triglyceride into the glycerol backbone of the triglyceride and 3 fatty acids. That's what triglyceride is. It's glycerol plus 3 fatty acids. So it breaks it down. So the fatty acids then go into the bloodstream, and then the glycerol goes into your liver to be converted. And I'll tell you what it does. So then it also, this same, epinephrine and norepinephrine works on the liver as well. So then it tells the liver, break down glycogen, because glycogen is stored in the liver, right? As well as in the skeletal muscle. So a little bit more in the liver than the skeletal muscle. So we'll tell the glycogen break down, because glycogen is polymers of glucose formed together. So you have a line and glucose, but that's glycogen, right? So then it breaks it down from glycogen, right, to glucose, to free glucose. So that process is called glycogenolysis, okay? And then you have also all these free things that is breaking up. It's telling the fatty acids, the adipose tissue break down to triglyceride and fatty acids. So those fatty acids and lactic acid, whatever, all your non-carbohydrate precursors can be put together, right, and go into a process to form glucose. So that process of forming new glucose from non-carbohydrate, sugar backbones or non-sugar precursors, that process is called gluconeogenesis. Gluco means glucose, neo means new, and genesis means the process of forming that gluconeogenesis, which is the new glucose. So you see because the goal in this fight or flight is to get as much nutrients into the system, right, as it can. So the extra hepatic cells, like your skeletal muscles, because your skeletal muscles, which is your muscle, is getting ready to run, right? It's getting ready to fight, it's getting ready to run, so that it can use up these nutrients. Your bones can use up these nutrients, like your lungs, and every part of your body will start using these glucose stuff, right? So for energy and to form ATP, so it can fight, because it can get ready. And then it's letting the brain, because your brain needs the glucose the most at this point. So this is your fight or flight. This is that acute stress. Your brain needs the most, needs the glucose the most. So what it does is it try and communicate with the other extra hepatic tissues, use the other forms of things for energy, and let me have the brain. So the glucose will go into the brain and start working. So you can start thinking of your feet, you can, all this stuff's going on. And then the skeleton, what it does with skeletal muscle, what it does with your muscles is your muscles are, full of proteins and amino acids and all that, right? So what it does is it tells the muscles, stop making protein, right? Because protein is a combination of amino acid chains. So amino acid plus amino acid plus amino acid plus amino acid make your protein. So that's your protein synthesis, right? So what it does, and it takes a lot of energy ATP. Remember, I always talk about food energy and cell energy. So cell energy is your ATP. So it takes a lot of ATP to make your proteins. So because it's a fight or flight situation, you need that thing right now. You don't have time to be wasting it on making proteins. So protein synthesis, which is the making of the protein, is halted. Okay, whereas protein breakdown is because you're breaking down the protein into single chain amino acids. Why? So that simple amino acids, so that the body can use this amino acids for energy, for fuel. Okay, so you want to be able to do all of that. And then it also tells the bone to do the same thing. So protein synthesis is halted, protein breakdown is going on. And this is so important, guys, because the main goal, and then also cortisol is elevated, because the main goal of all of this is to get nutrients to the system. What are the nutrients? You want glucose, you want amino acids, you want fatty acids. You see what I'm saying? So now the brain is going to use the glucose. The other parts of your body is going to try and use the fatty acids, the amino acids as your, other forms of energy to use, so they can be ready to fight or to run or to go. The problem, and this is in an acute stress situation. Okay, acute stress, whether you have a sudden death in the family or some kind of death, you're shocked, a dog is chasing you, you just had a car accident, you have trauma, something, right? This is your acute stress. It's not supposed to last long. It's supposed to happen, your body calms down, everything starts getting better, and then it goes back down. It levels out, right? But the problem becomes when we have all these chronic stresses going on. So like, for example, you have relationship problems, you have financial problems, you have all these other problems going on, right? And you're traveling to work, an hour to work, an hour back. That's stress. You get to work, there's stress at work, right? There's stress with your boyfriend, there's stress with your girlfriend, there's stress with your husband, there's stress with your wife, there's stress with the children, there's stress with your career, there's stress with your finances, you can't pay your bills. All these things are chronic stress. People only think about there's toxicity, the foods that we're eating. I talk about that all the time. That the foods, the acid forming foods that I keep talking about, your dairies, your meats, and all those things that are causing extra chronic stress and inflammation in your body. These are all stresses on your body. And the thing about stress is you don't even know what's going on. It just happens. It's like it's happened automatically. You just don't even know. Right? So the thing is, you want to be able to curtail the stress. So the acute stress we just discussed, and that I told you all that is going on with the adrenal medulla, which is now going to different parts of the body. So how about chronic stress? This is where cortisol comes in. This is where cortisol is elevated chronically. And when cortisol is elevated chronically, not only does it affect the set of the adipose tissues, the liver, the skeletal muscles, the brain, it affects every part of your body. So, and your immune system, it affects every part. So that's what we're going to go over next week. We're going to talk about, chronic stress, the elevated the elevated cortisol, why elevated cortisol needs to be honed in so you can be able to control your stress, and then it can have all these negative impact on your body, because it can. And then that elevated cortisol, I keep saying cholesterol, elevated cortisol can also increase insulin resistance, because the goal of the body. So cortisol is not bad in itself, but what it does is that when it's elevated because of chronic stress, becomes a problem. And so we'll talk about that next week. And I hope this really, help. I know it's a lot, but as we put it all, as you watch the different videos, you put it all together, you realize that you can hone this in. You can control your stress. You can, control your cortisol level, and you'll be able to work efficiently, and you'll feel better. So let's leave it at that. I thank you for watching. Like always, if you want to join the programs that we have going, we have the Ultimate Weight Loss Program going. You can do that, or you can do the 28-day Renew Health Transformation Program. If you want private coaching, you can also call. If you can also support us by the products that we have the cell support, we have the male support. Guys, we got our teas in here. We have our power food, which is awesome. You see how energetic I am today? Because I took a power food, honey. I have I have a 60-year-old that told me she took the power food and she washed 3 cars in 2 days. So that power food is a jam. So I really highly recommend taking the cell support and the power food. You'll be amazed. The energy level you get, and it feeds you, and it's all natural herbs, okay? And then we have facial care products, skincare products, hair care products. So if you ever want to support us, that's the way to support us. And you can always look at the number below, call the clinic, and we'll be able to assist you. Also, if you like this video, please, like it, subscribe, and use the notification bell so you can always get a new video when it comes, and share it with people. So I just thank you. I just know that God is, in control. He has us together, and I know that with teaching and knowing, right, we will do better, and we'll be able to get off our blood pressure medications, be able to get off our diabetic medications and cholesterol medications with the help of our doctors, and with incorporating fruits and vegetables into your lifestyle, in consuming a whole lot of fruits and vegetables. I always like to leave you with a quote, and I want to leave you with this quote today. It says, everyone has their own story, right? Everyone knows their own pain. Never allow anyone to judge your path, because only you know how much it took to get up and continue to go on. Only you knew, or you know how much it takes, the strength that it takes to get up and continue to go on. This is your journey, and don't let anybody, or don't compare it to anybody else's journey. Know that God loves you. Your steps are ordered by Him. He says the steps of the good man are ordered by the Lord. You are a good man. You are a good woman. And God has ordered your steps. So I love you. I'm going to leave you here. I love you, and I know God loves you more. Be blessed. And until we meet again, be protected. Until we meet again next Thursday. God bless you.